May I now invite the Deputy Speaker of the River State House of Assembly to assist us with the opening prayer. Deputy Speaker, sir.
Let us pray. Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, we thank you on this unique occasion of education for all, the responsibility of all. Except you are in this matter, it will be a wasted effort. We seek, O Lord, for your hand in all of the deliberation, so that at the end of the day, the people of the state will be better for it. This and other blessings we ask through our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. We now take our seats. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come for an education summit, but the children of River State say that they understand the reason why we are here, and so they have chosen to give us this rendition in their own way. May I now invite the choir once more to assist us with the mission statement. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Once more, please, let's appreciate these children. Let's appreciate them. Your Excellency, Right Honorable Chibike Rotimi Amechi, Governor of River State. Your Excellency, Engineer Tela Ikoru, Deputy Governor of River State. Honorable Dakuku Peterside, Member House of Representatives. My father, Your Royal Majesty and Excellency King Alfred Spieth, former Governor of Old River State, the Deputy Speaker, River State House of Assembly, and other members of the State House of Assembly here present. I can see Honorable Andrew Uchendu, also of the House of Representatives, here with us this morning. We welcome you, sir. Indeed, we have a full house, but permit me to welcome in a special way former Pro-Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, and a man who I have the honor of saying authored my certificate from school as the Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan. Join me as I welcome to this arena Professor Ayo Banjo. Please, let's welcome him. We also have in our midst, by the special grace of God, the man we have called an oracle. He is an icon, but many do not know that he is a hunter. He is a man who will hunt you from the bush to the highest echelon of power. He will not stop speaking about ills in our society. He is a Kongi himself because he harvests. And anytime you call upon him to lead the course of discourse in Nigeria, he will never shy away from that responsibility. Join me as I welcome novelist, essayist, foremost critic, writer, Nigerian diplomat, Professor Wole Soyinka, chairman of today's occasion. Please, let's appreciate him. Thank you very much, sir. And of course, we have with us our own Honorable Odein Ajumogobia, SAN, former minister, who is also here with us this morning, a very proud man, a very good Nigerian, indeed, one man in which Rivers State will ever be proud and be committed to. Please, let's welcome Mr. H. Odein Ajumogobia, SAN. You're welcome, sir. We have very distinguished statesmen here, but join me. Let me just take the roll call as I have it with me here. Of course, we have our Amenable of Trombras coming here this morning with his wife, and he's talking about none other than Her Majesty Josephine Spieth. You're welcome, ma. God bless you. God bless you. We also have in our midst Professor Tekena Tamuno, one of our own, very great son of Rivers State, an ambassador for excellence, and is a man, anytime you call upon him to be part of the progress in Rivers State, he will always be here. Also, Professor Emeritus of the Great University of Ibadan. Please, let's appreciate him and welcome him here. Of course, we have Professor Tonti Nduka, who has also been with us all the hog. Sir, you're welcome, sir. God bless you. We appreciate all of you. We have Professor Goswill Obioma is also here with us. Indeed, this hall is full. I have the Secretary to Government. Of course, I can see from my position the Honorable Attorney General, Commissioner for Justice, Rivers State, and all other members of the Rivers State Executive Council here. We have heads of institutions, permanent secretaries, special advisors, every distinguished person who is here today. Of course, I can see the leader of the Rivers State House of Assembly is also here with us, and very many persons. You'll have to forgive me if my eyes cannot see you, but I will not forget to introduce former Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Her Excellency Mrs. Sarah Sosan. She's here with us. Please, let's appreciate her. Of course, we have our own father, elder statesman, Adolphus Karibi White, Honorable Justice, retired. Please, let's appreciate him and welcome him to this venue. And of course, we have the head of service here with us. We also have Professor Nemi Dimpa Briggs. We cannot forget that name in a hurry. He has always been here for us. Thank you very much. We have consultants, very many consultants of the Ministry of Education here with us this morning. Indeed, my list is endless. Please permit me, I'll have to abridge protocol and go right on to duty. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the people of Rivers State came together at a point in time to say that under the Amechi administration, it would not be permissible for us to do things in the ordinary fashion. We chose to do it in a unique fashion. Many call it digital, but we have chosen to say it is the way that Rivers has decided to define its possibilities. Welcome to the Rivers of Possibilities. Welcome to the Rivers State Education Summit 2013. Welcome to the home, the theater of dreams. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me as I welcome to give us an opening remarks Opening remarks, we know what it means. And so we know he's going to do it very briefly because it will come up again. I have on my program as item number 4, the chairman's opening remarks. So join me as I welcome my only teacher, Professor Wole Soyinka, to give us an opening remarks. Please let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you. Your Excellency, Your Excellencies, Your Excellencies. What a pleasure always to be back here, one of my favorite states, as you know very well, which is why I'm always being dragged at every opportunity. But I do my best to respond to the call. My remarks will be very brief. I'm so happy to see that you've snagged also my Egbon here, Professor Banjo, a very treasured colleague. If anybody is in a position with experience and authority to speak on education, I think it is he. I would like to refer you to a book, and that'll be the burden of my remark today. I want to refer you to a book which narrates the experiences of a former vice-chancellor. The book is titled, very quaintly, but very significantly, Water Must Flow Uphill. And it's the account of Roger Makanjuola's stewardship as the Vice-Chancellor of our premier university, University of Ibadan. I read that book unbelievingly. I couldn't believe what I was reading there, but I knew it was true because I was familiar with some of the experiences which he underwent, one of the travails. When things reach a stage where a vice-chancellor, in order to keep order, to protect the integrity of an institution, and to create a viable environment for learning and teaching, when things reach a stage where a vice-chancellor is dragged down, is beaten up, thrust inside a bus, and has to gasp for breath, and even passes out, things have reached a pretty serious pass. One even has to mobilize and collect a few people armed with shotguns to protect university property against other members of a university. Then we're not living in a civilized situation. We're living in what was the title of a film I saw ages ago, A Blackboard Jungle. I'm not embarrassed at all to admit and to insist on a certain cure, a certain recipe, which I made many years ago, which many people didn't understand why this extreme idea came to me when I suggested that we close down all tertiary institutions for 2 or 3 years and go back to zero and really start replanning our entire university system and retune our minds to what a university is supposed to be about. We try and restore the collegiate comradely atmosphere that universities are supposed to be. People thought I was being extreme. Well, things have improved slightly since then in many areas with very good sound leadership, including the kind of determination, the will of somebody like Roger Makanjuola and a number of others. But why should the Vice-Chancellor of a university be reduced to such tactics just in order to maintain sanity? I mean, it's an account of a very courageous man. But each time, each page I turned, I found myself resenting the society that could produce, that could behave in such a way, in whose affairs are managed in such a way that universities are reduced to mere jungles. If you don't have a good environment for learning, it doesn't matter if you have the most brilliant professors in the world. If the atmosphere, the environment is rotten, you will just produce animals from universities. And that is why I'm very happy to be here to be part of any effort at all to resuscitate what our universities are and what they should be, to try and just brainstorm and be very honest and find out just where things went wrong. And the rot in tertiary universities is trickling all the way down through secondary schools, even to some primary schools. I'm not going to say one word about cultism, what normal university cultures like fraternities have been turned into in this country. And of course, people say, ah, yeah, he started it all. Yeah. Instead of looking into yourselves and finding out who turned what we started into what it is today. You know, blame passing, as if what we now know as quote-unquote fraternities, you know, what fraternity was and what it used to be. Things have reached such a stage that the whole nation has been turned illiterate. They even equate fraternity with the word cultism. So they cannot no longer distinguish between a genuine fraternity and a cult, a secret cult, of which society is riddled all the way from the top. Give me the name of any head of state who hasn't been consulting marabouts and prophets and so on, and sacrificing goats and animals in the dead of night to be able to receive a third term in office and so on. And then you start blaming students. They become imitating what society itself has become. Once I start, I will not stop. Please, enough. I draw attention to this book by Makanjuola. It narrates very succinctly and brilliantly the problem, the malaise that has hit our tertiary institutions. But it's not tertiary institutions alone, and I'm very sure you'll be very, very deeply enlightened by what you're about to listen to. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Good luck.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, if you enjoy the bit of that journey, please can we just join our hands together to appreciate him. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a foremost playwright, I choose not to mention the name now, for some obvious reasons, wrote a book and he titled it The Interpreters. I don't know if the author is here, I don't know. But he titled it The Interpreters. I tell you that it takes a better interpreter to interpret a dream so that we are able to get a mission and a vision out of it. Your Excellency, today one person has been able to interpret some kind of a dream by a young man. And it is my duty at this time to invite, to give us a bit of that understanding of the interpretation, the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Rivers State, Dame Alice Lawrence-Nemi, who is the mother of the new education in Rivers State. Please let's appreciate her as she comes to do this.
Thank you. His Excellency, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibuike-Amaechi, the Governor of Rivers State, His Excellency Engineer Telekuru, the Deputy Governor of Rivers State, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. His Excellency, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibuike-Amaechi, CON, on assumption of office as Governor of Rivers State, expressed his intention to turn around the educational system in the state. Consequently, an education reform planning committee was set up in place, with Honorable Nimi Walsinjak as the chairman of that summit. The high point of the activities of this committee was the Rivers State Summit on an education system that works, which was held on the 29th day of January 2008. This summit was attended by representatives of the relevant and different stakeholders in the educational enterprise in the state, and identified some issues affecting the educational system in the state, wherein they preferred various solutions to it. At the end of the exercise, a 3-year action plan was configured and presented to the government. To ensure that the summit did not end up as a talk shop with its report gathering docs on the governor's bookshelf, the government immediately implemented one of the major recommendations of the summit. The institution of Rivers State Education Reform Development and Implementation Committee, with the Deputy Governor, Engineer Telekuru, as the chairman. Under the guidance of this committee, and the extraordinary zeal and passion exhibited by the governor of the state, His Excellency Right Honorable Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, the government immediately started to execute a number of education reform projects in the state. In October 2010, a Rivers State education retreat was convened at Tinapa Business Resort at Calabar. Again, members of the State Executive Council and other relevant stakeholders attended. Papers presented by the invited resource persons were carefully perused and deliberated upon. At the end of the retreat, resolutions were presented and adopted. A few days after the retreat, His Excellency set up a committee to work towards the achievement of the resolution with himself as chairman. This committee met, shared itself into subcommittees with other co-opted members and started work immediately. Once again, we are assembling here today to take part in the 3rd Education Summit in Rivers State. In a short period of 5 years, we are here to listen to the eminent resource persons who will present papers on various aspects of education in Rivers State, ponder over them, deliberate and come up with resolutions that, when properly implemented, will give Rivers children education that will enable them fit into and adequately face the challenges of the 21st century globalized world, knowledge-driven. A lot has been done and a lot needs to be done. Your Excellency, sir, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and humility that I welcome you all to this summit. Have a pleasant time, and may we all aspire to enrich and drink from these rivers of possibilities. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much. If it is a cup that will continue to drink from, I pray I continue to drink from the rivers of possibilities. It does offer a lot more hope than some of us think. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the dream came from somewhere. Interpretation has been done, but we need to know how far we have gone. What was the passion like at inception? What degree of addition have we got to the passion now? Is it indeed working or it's not working? Are the challenges too enormous that we cannot surmount them? Are they being surmountable? Have we been able to bring the eggheads together to do things in the right manner? Join me as I welcome the visionary, His Excellency Right Honorable Chibuike Amechi, Governor, Rivers State, to address this summit.
I think I can speak from here. Your Excellencies, Your Excellencies, Your Excellencies. Prof, I'm told one way of learning is by imitation. Let me start by welcoming all of you, and I think Alice has done that, and tell you how happy I am to see professors retired and present in this hall. And I was asking myself, when you were in the University of Port Harcourt, did you ever think that one day you would sit and those who taught you and those you've read about and heard about will be in front of you and teaching you again? And I said no to myself. So I'm delighted that you are present here. I must start by thanking all those who have contributed in one way or the other to our getting to this point. I remember our old professors going with us to Calabar, and some of them asking us, what have we done since after the Calabar meeting? If you ask me, not much. Not much has happened. I was about yielding my time to the young lady. She looks young, I hope she is. I think she's, are you Helen Fadibe, right? Okay. I wanted her to, because I asked her to do an impact assessment, and if you see the report, it's a bit appalling. Because you see, the facade of the schools should not deceive us into an achievement of educational development. Anybody can build a school. I don't know who made this quote. That anybody, any fool can have a child, but it takes a father to train up a child. So anybody can build a school, actually. The worry is the content of education. And I think that I wasn't happy that they had to go and put her for Tuesday. She should have come up immediately after Alice spoke, so that you can see what we have done. We should not politicize education. There is no room for politicization of education. Nothing like, see me, I have achieved. I built 20 schools, 500 schools, clap for me, give me more votes. That is not what education is about. It is not a thing that anybody should gain votes for. It is a thing that is a right of every Nigerian. That is what I think. So for me to come here and tell you, yes, when we came, we looked at education, we set up this committee, we asked the Deputy Governor to chair another committee, and all that, and resolved that we must pursue education, and now we're pursuing it. That will be taking a political advantage of all of you and the Rivers people. But the truth remains that I don't think we've done enough investment in the area of education. I don't believe that at all. And listening to her, initially, until I listened to her 2-3 days ago, she's a typical Nigerian. She brought me privately and sat me down and ran through the program, what she's observed in the few weeks that she started that impact assessment, and said, listen, this is not what I will tell them in public. I said, if you don't tell them this, I will tell them on your behalf, and I will stop the contract. She said, no, but it looks a bit ugly. I said, show the public the ugly side, so that those who are managing education will then come out and say, this is too ugly. So that the next summit, the need for an improvement will be too necessary. And what are those things that she observed, and which I've also observed? First is, you go to our primary schools, they look beautiful outside. When you go inside, they look extremely beautiful. When you visit, they put on the generators for you. When you go, the generators disappear. True or false? Where are those who are managing education? So we are still not far away from where we inherited from. Because the essence of putting those generators there is that they must run, shouldn't they? They should provide power. Oh, we're doing ICT. Have you seen ICT without generators or electricity? So when the generators are off, are they teaching the children ICT? So we are still back to where we started from. This time it's no longer the governor, because funding is there. They are buying the generators and all that. It is management. It is management. You go to the schools and you visit the schools. Okay, that one they have improved, and she reported they have improved. Teachers are now in school teaching. And that one attributes 50% to me and 50% to Ministry of Education, including Alice. 50% to me is because, unfortunately, to Rivers People, they have a restless governor. So as I drive around, I can just stop in one school. What's going on here? So every headmaster knows it may be your turn tomorrow or the next place. Everybody now comes to school. For instance, they didn't know I could go to a village called, is it Banagoy? Or whatever it is, but somewhere in Ogoni. Far away from Port Harcourt. And then I walked in there. What attracted me? I felt my children were becoming too European in nature. So I said, can we spend weekend at the farm? They said, which farm? I said, the Songhai farm. They all refused. I insisted. And they said, well, you know, Dad, once he makes up his mind, he has made up his mind. So no need to argue. Dad, we can go. So we went. On a Saturday, Sunday, Monday morning, I just refused to come back to town. I said, can we take a walk? I wanted to make them have a feel of a village. They said yes. So we took a walk from the Songhai farm to a village called Banagoy. Casual, all of us were very casually dressed. Silpas and all that. And I walked into this school. I saw a man at the gate with a bicycle. What are you doing here? Who are you, by the way? Sir, I came to pay school fees. Pay what? School fees. I was livid. And I said, to who? He said, to the headmaster. I said, follow me. And I walked into the headmaster's office. How are you? Oh, morning, sir. I said, morning. You collect school fees? No way, no way, no way. You're laughing. You're laughing. This is a typical picture of a primary school in Nigeria. And I said, you don't collect school fees? He says, I won't fire you. I will lock you up if you lie here. He said, I don't. So are you the person lying to me? So no, sir. In fact, I came to beg him to give me one more week. You're laughing. I said, one more week. He says, and you say you don't collect school fee? No, sir, it's only exam fee. I said, including the exam fee that we pay for everybody, you are collecting exam fee. He said, no, that they told us. I said, who? The man didn't know what to say. I called Alice, fire this man now. Well, we don't have power to fire, and we have the power to hire, but we don't have power to fire in the civil service. So what did they do? Suspended the man. After that, they posted him to somewhere else so he can continue to collect school fees somewhere else. But to solve the argument, I went into the school. They were all seated on the floor. No desk, nothing. How are you? They say, fine. Where are your teachers? They are not here, sir. Only 2 teachers were in school. How many of you have paid your fees here? They started crying. Because I said, if you don't pay, I will send you out. Just to confirm whether who was lying. They all started crying. I said, look, I'm serious. What are you crying for? Can't your parents pay school fees? They say the parents can't pay school fees. There's a need to give them more time. I then turned to the principal, you're the thief. So this man collects school fees from you? They said yes. I said, okay. Now, not only will you be suspended, you will refund the money. And I went through the whole place, dilapidated, everything in a very sorry situation. I then called Alice. I said, look, we are building a primary school near here. Better complete it on time. She said, okay. They've completed the primary school now. You may say there are not enough children in that village, but I hope they've moved to the new primary school. But now, if you listen, if you saw the children crying, what were they crying for? That will take me back to those who criticized me for trying to run a welfare government. That will take me back to that. Because you see, when you don't provide for these people, they will provide for themselves. You know that? The way they provide for themselves, first and foremost, they are not educated. So they wait for you. You that are educated, that will send their children to, including me, don't forget, that send their children overseas to study, including sending them overseas like Ghana. The reason why you send them to Ghana is because they have an education system that works. So that will take me back to the beginning. And what was the beginning? People say I'm arrogant. I'm not. I'm just blunt and, well, I don't know whether I'm honest, but I'm blunt and sincere. I fear to say I'm honest, that you don't say, are you claiming to be God? But I try to make sure that what is right is right. I don't tell you no when I mean yes. My primary school was at Sacred Heart Primary School, Dio. My secondary school was Government Secondary School, Eberi-Omuma, in Omuma local government area. And then I followed the principal to Government Secondary School, Okolobri, in Yenagua. So I didn't see, my father wasn't rich. So I didn't see those things. Egg was celebration for us. Chicken, Easter, Christmas, and New Year. Rice, Christmas, Easter, and we celebrated rice. Gare, morning. Gare, afternoon. Gare. That's why I'm suffering from excess gas and acid in my system. So you can't accuse me of being arrogant. What will it be arrogant about? What is the achievement of being a governor? Anybody can be elected a governor if you're lucky, if God is on your side. So that's not an achievement that anybody can be proud of or can be arrogant about. You can be proud of it, but you can't be arrogant about it. Now, I look at that history, and I remember that, true, I didn't go to school with sandals, but then it didn't make any difference. I looked at that and said, when we were in Sacred Heart Primary School, we had teachers. Do they have teachers now? Do we have teachers in the primary schools? When I was at GSS Eberi-Omuma and Okolobri, we had teachers. The schools may not be that beautiful, but we had teachers. And they were qualified, and they taught us. No teacher ever refused to come to class. Now you have businessmen as teachers. I'm sure teachers are here. And the reason for which you have that is that the current economy of Nigeria is in complete mess. That the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer. And because the rich gets richer and the poor gets poorer, the same thing affects education. Rich men marry the children of rich men marry each other. Poor men have no time to marry rich man's child. There's not even a time for a poor man to love a rich man's child because you're struggling. Ask my classmates if you meet them. I had no time for girlfriend up to university because you are struggling to battle with poverty. So if you have those challenges in life and there are people who are having those challenges. Government can only do one thing: intervene. Where does government intervene? Education, health, maybe water. No, you can't intervene in power. They have a choice not to have power. But key, you must have education, you must have health. And if you say we must pay, then all you're doing is afford the rich the same opportunity to continue to oppress the poor. The poor. And what are the policies that we put in place to see whether this can work? And that's why you shouldn't blame me if it fails. Because what I've done is put structures in place by law and appointed people. If they don't run it well, God, I have done the best that I can do. The first thing that we did is to study the reason for which we have the total malice we have in education. And the reason is that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is anomalous. It gives the responsibility of primary education to who? Do they have the capacity? So who do you bring up? I call it, in Nigeria, you don't have democracy in that sense of, I don't mean election, no. There's a difference between voting and, I call it the democratization of illiteracy. You know, they look at it, they just say to you, council chairman, you are in charge of education. And what do? They build 6 classroom blocks. I met 1,300 primary schools, 6 classroom blocks. Who did I go with? The ambassadors of Finland, Austria, and Norway. We took them to our primary schools, and thank God they were, even me, I was embarrassed, because they didn't know where, governor is coming, it's Elekahia, so they prepare Elekahia, the fan, the AC, so you're surprised, oh, wonderful school, governor, you're trying, this is beautiful. All the children well behaved. So I took a drive to, I didn't go to Elekahia, I took a drive to a primary school where I was not expecting me. You know which primary school? The one opposite Elekahia Housing Estate. Good morning, madam. Say, good morning. How are you? Say, fine. I brought you 3 wonderful ambassadors. She said, welcome, sir. Very well. They were in school, well dressed, but I know what to ask for. Can you take us to your ICT class? He said, yes. Why is it not working? Sir, no diesel in the generator. This was 3 days last week. Oh. I'm not saying in the past. No diesel. Say, yes, sir. And you reported, yes, sir. Okay, so and I was making sure the ambassadors heard it well. Then I went to the library. Beautiful. When last did they come here to read their books? We are yet to organize a library period. Okay. To the class. Children, how are you? Say, fine. Have you paid the exam fee? Yes, sir, I paid. Exam fee? Say yes. I know what to ask for. Don't forget, because I'm the restless person who goes around all our projects. If paid the exam fee, say yes. I turned to the woman. He said, no, sir, I'm not collecting this. Then the children kept quiet, having discovered that their head teacher was in trouble. I said, oh, no, we have not paid anything. No. I said, will you? Okay, no problem. You're all Christians? They say, yes. The Bible says, thou shalt not lie. He who lies, what happens? Okay, I repeated. He who sins, what the Bible says will happen? They say, shall die. I say, fine. You want to die? They say, no. And I say, since you don't want to die, have you paid the exam fee? Yes, I will pay. You're laughing. My speech today is just to point out the failures of our new system. You'll hear from the lady when she eventually will speak to you. I say, fine. You paid your exam fee? He say, yes. This woman, if you don't refund their money now, you will see. First, call me Alice. Suspend the woman. She started crying. I said, suspend her now. You are making money out of these poor people. So I went to primary 1. I left primary 6 to primary 1. Children, how are you? Fine. You know my name? They say, yes. What's my name? Governor Chibike Rotimi Amechi. Fine. They moved the governor. Just call me Chibike Rotimi Amechi. He said, fine. How many of you here, because I will send those who have not paid now home, how many of you here have paid their exam fees? They all raise their hand, only one. Say, I'm just going to pay. I say, fine. This woman, you must refund their money and you're going on suspension. Now, there's a flagship that we have, the primary school at Eleka here. So you expect that here everything will be perfect. So having gone to the bad one, the one I knew that something would go wrong, I thought, okay, take these white people to our flagship, that everything will be right. We walked into our flagship. Our flagship is the primary school at Elekahia, where we take everybody to. So anytime you go there, everything is working. Generator, everything. But I've not gone for some time, so things have started feeling a bit. So I walked into the place. The headmistress again was very happy and all that. And I said, how are you? She said, fine. I brought you some ambassadors. She was very excited. We went into the computer room, and the light was blinking. So I said, why is this light blinking? Ordinarily, if I want to be a politician, I will ignore it. I know that for this to be happening, then there's a problem. Your Excellency, our generator is bad. So it comes off and on. Are you sure? Says, have you reported to the ministry? He said, since 3 weeks ago I've reported. Which means in the past 3 weeks they've been in darkness. I said, okay. What else to look for? I went to the auditorium, beautiful auditorium, and all that, sick bay. Then I went to primary one. How many of you here have paid the exam fees? They raise their hand. Even in the school we call our flagship. I'm saying it because I don't have this time to talk to Commissioner for Education. She should hear it from me publicly. So, no, sir, it's a former headmistress. I have not collected yet. I'm just 2 weeks old. I say, whether you're 2 weeks old or not, go to that woman and return our money. If not, I will direct that they should stop her pension until we're able to recover all the money she collected for this school. We pay for virtually everything, but teachers and headmistresses still try to collect their own money. You may say there are some problems along the line, but it is the reason for which we now set up, we now send to the State Assembly and they pass it into law, the Quality Assurance Law, for which Professor Orubite, right, is supposed to be in charge. I don't know if have you announced the board? Because the board is supposed to be chairman by Professor Tontin Doka, and I said people should approach him and then announce and inaugurate the board. The essence of the board, luckily for us, Professor Tontin Doka is here, is inspection. The only reason why you see teachers sit in class is they don't know when the governor will come. And now we have roads almost everywhere. So I get off from here. Now I say I'm going to Ubima. I don't know what drags me, whether it's, there's that book we read that talk about flying, is it wandering disease? So Google. So I get to Ubima, and Mama say, but this road leads to a Che. And by the time you know it, I've appeared at a Che. And then I'll drive into the school and I'll ask questions. So now headmasters and teachers know that governor can come in, so they come to class. But we don't have enough teachers. Tomorrow, you will end your summit. I will appeal to the Commissioner for Education. We need to issue employment letters to the 13,000 teachers that have been. Whether we have money or not, we need to issue those letters of employment. Why do you need to issue the letters of employment? There are some schools you go to, only 2 teachers. It's not that they didn't come to work. They don't have teachers. There are only 2 teachers. So when you go to the public, oh, Governor Mechi is trying. Wonderful schools. Oh, have you seen his primary school? Have you seen his secondary school? Only 2 teachers. Governor Mechi can only be trying if you have hired qualified teachers. So, latest Wednesday. My problem is, ask my cabinet. I call them, I say some of them are vision killers, some of them are those who work with the vision. The vision killers are those when we see the vision in the cabinet meeting and we leave instruction, they will never carry them out. But that's for the cabinet when we meet on Wednesday. I will outline, not for the public, so I will not bring down our government. When we meet in the cabinet meeting on Wednesday, I will point out those ones that are not able to carry out the visions that we have. You know, we are all prophets in the cabinet. The person who that God has been said to see a vision. But the point remains that quickly, if we don't employ those teachers, you will continue to democratize illiteracy. Because that is the foundation of education. If you leave primary schools in the hands of local government councils and they're not able to run them, then all you'll be churning out at the secondary school levels are illiterates. Well, I'm told, or non-literates. I'm told to address them as non-literates and not illiterates. Non-literates. And imagine the graduates you send to secondary school. And I'll give you an example of our secondary schools. So when you see, I know where you people are focusing on this education summit, is primary school. It is not. The only, listen, you must also look at the secondary school. Our secondary schools are worse. Please find time and go there and see for yourself. What are we doing at the secondary school level? And I'm also being criticized for that. We are building new secondary schools, beautiful. They look like universities. 24 of them are our goal. But currently, we think by September, 7 of them should be in place. They are beautiful, 2 children per room, toilet facility, everything in place. What did I decide? I know that if you give it to our people to manage, they will run down the place. What have I done? I've handed it over to private companies to run. The company that's running this one now is an Indian company. But we won't hand over our primary schools. I will welcome all of you, and I will hope that at the end of this summit, we will go away with policies that will not only improve primary education, but will improve secondary and tertiary education in such a way that our people will be very proud of coming from Rivers State. Thank you, and God bless you.
Please, let's appreciate His Excellency. Let's appreciate him better. Now that we have heard from the man who started the roadmap himself, I want to remind us that the theme of this summit is enhancing sustainable development in education. And that's where the next speaker will start from. And so, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I will not do the talking because I know he is very capable to teach us and also to mentor us through the process. And so, Your Excellencies, if you're all ready and I'm ready, I'll ask that you join me in welcoming to this podium the keynote speaker who will be speaking on agenda for educational development, and I dare say in Rivers State. Emeritus Professor Ayobanjo C.O.N., former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan, Pro-Chancellor and Chairman Governing Council of Ajayi Crowther University, Oyo. Please, let's put our hands together as we welcome him to deliver the keynote address at this forum.
There's another one there.
Yes.
Your Excellencies, Your Excellencies, Your Excellencies. But I must also add, Professor Emeritus Wole Soyinka, the chairman of this session, and I tremble to speak after him. I would like to begin to express my gratitude to His Excellency, the Governor of Rivers State, Mr. Rotimi Amechi, and the Honorable Commissioner for Education, Dame Alice Lawrence-Nemi, for the honor of the invitation to attend this summit on education and deliver the keynote address. I followed the bold initiatives that have been taking place in recent years in this state and would like to commend the government for the commitment to the development of the state. It is a trite saying that the genuine development of any country, or as in this case, any part thereof, depends on the efficacy of its educational system. This admission is vociferously made in all corners of the world, from the most backward
countries in Africa and Asia to the most sophisticated in Europe and America. The only difference would appear to be that whereas those countries which we would have considered very highly developed countries already sincerely mean what they proclaim, and the underdeveloped ones hardly ever match words with deeds. I have every reason to believe, however, that this summit has been convened to do real business, to resolve to take bold actions, and to be prepared to think outside the box. The educational responsibilities of the government in Nigeria have increased over the years, not only in terms of potential beneficiaries of the system, but also in terms of the tiers of the educational system to be provided for. The country has moved from preoccupations with universal primary education with a 6-year span to concerns with university basic education with a 9-year span. And states have also taken on the provision of university education. But already, countries in the developed world are setting their sights on universal tertiary education, which will be a mix of universities and technical colleges. Now, the usual alibi of the poor countries is that they cannot afford the costs of quality education or even of universal primary education of any description. Yet, this cannot be true. In this same country, 60 years ago, Obafemi Awolowo decided to offer free primary education to the children of Western region. And instead of complaining about costs, he simply devoted 40% of the region's budget to education. When he needed more money, he levied an education tax which the citizens willingly paid because they could see the benefits unfolding before their very eyes. Ghana also currently spends a similar percentage of its budget on education. And now Nigerians concede that the country has better educated citizens, while Nigerian parents are sending their children over there in droves to secondary and tertiary institutions. Perhaps what is preventing parents from sending their children over to Ghana for primary education is the merciful proliferation of high-quality private primary schools at home. But as we know, these operate outside the state system. Now, one is reminded of the famous quip which says, if you think education is too expensive, try ignorance. I believe, to a large extent, we have indeed tried it in this country in recent years, with resultant huge costs in resources and talent. And now see how it makes us lag farther and farther behind the developed countries. And that in an age which places a high premium on education, on knowledge. What I thought I might do in the time available to me this morning is to draw attention to just a handful of key features of the existing educational system which could do with more rethinking. It would be useful in looking first at primary education to remind ourselves of the crucial importance of this tier. It's natural to think of primary education as the foundation of the whole education system, whose inefficiency resonates throughout the remaining tiers of the system. Thus, the woeful performances in the school certificate examinations have to be traced largely to the poor foundation of the elementary tier. Similarly, the much lamented unsatisfactory quality of many university graduates in this country today has to be traced to the same source. However, one other important role of primary education in terms of access and quality, which has often been overlooked in this country, is in ensuring quality leaders for the country. We may recall that this was very clearly brought out in 19th century Britain by the famous debates in the British Parliament leading to the promulgation of the Elementary Education Act of 1870. This act had in turn been triggered by the Reform Act of 1867, in which Robert Lowe, later first Viscount of Sherbrooke, played a leading role. This was when Lowe uttered those immortal words, "We must educate our masters." The Reform Act of 1867 in Britain had added another 1 million names to the electoral voters list, and Lowe was scared by the prospect of the country's leaders being voted into office by an illiterate and uneducated electorate. Perhaps we could do worse than quote Lowe at some length. Quote, "There is no effort we should not make. There is no sacrifice, either of money or prejudice, or feeling we hold we should not submit. Rather than allow a generation to grow up in ignorance, in whose hands are reposed the destinies of all of us, the destinies of the nation, it is a thing which must be done, and done immediately. We cannot suffer any large number of our citizens, now that they have obtained the right of influencing the destinies of the country, to remain uneducated. Now it is a question of self-preservation. It is a question of existence, even of existence of our Constitution. And on those who shall obstruct or prevent such a measure passing will rest a responsibility, the heaviest that mortal man can possibly be under." End of quote. Now, these are strong words, and we would do well to note the concluding imprecation, which I shall read again. "On those who shall obstruct or prevent such a measure passing will rest a responsibility, the heaviest that mortal man can possibly be under." They were spoken nearly 1.5 centuries ago in a different clime from ours. But the lesson for us today in this country is by no means less poignant. The question now is what can be done to salvage the situation. The simple answer is, through a corps of inspectors should be maintained, and in some, the children should be given a decent start in life so that they may grow up into decent citizens. Now, of the 3 tiers of an education system, the secondary perhaps occupies a unique position. It is unique in the sense that it is profoundly influenced by the quality of the primary tier, and in turn profoundly influences the quality of the tertiary tier. In addition, in view of the current policy of 9 years free education embodied in the policy of universal basic education, the secondary tier also determines the quality of the Nigerian electorate, the masters of the political leaders. This makes it important to consider carefully the surrender value of the universal basic education. And I believe it will be agreed that there is still a lot of work to do in this respect. As a result of this new policy, it has been thought wise to restructure the secondary tier altogether, breaking it into junior secondary and senior secondary. It is hard at the moment to see where the junior secondary education leads its beneficiaries, in spite of the national policy on education. Ideally, they should be able to go into technical colleges and trade centers, but I think the current situation would warrant a major study by the experts in the field to determine the efficacy of the system. Meanwhile, school certificate results in recent years present a gloomy picture, and the influence of this on the tertiary tier, particularly the universities, is also becoming alarming. Another definitive study has to be made by the experts, surely, in terms of the purported superiority of the 6334 system of secondary education over the sixth form system. It has recently been revealed that one of our major universities has 80% of its students graduating with third-class honors. While that university deserves to be praised for not lowering its standards in order to achieve a more favorable profile, this situation, which is likely to be repeated in some other universities, raises cause for alarm. It would appear, at least impressionistically, that the entrants into universities were much better prepared when they came from the sixth form or with A levels. The reason for this is too evident, I think, to be belabored here. Entrants were more mature in age, which is by no means a slight consideration, and had had a foretaste of the university education before arriving at the university. I have heard three main arguments from very distinguished educationists against going back to the previous system. One is that it is untidy for the country to appear to be going backwards and forwards. But I would have thought that if there were compelling reasons for a change, we should not allow loss of face to prevent us from making it. The second argument is that the sixth form is elitist. But if we are opposed to elitism in education, I think we should abolish altogether universities whose business is to admit and train elites of the intellect. Even as things stand now, the products of the junior secondary cannot be compared to those of the senior secondary, indicating that a measure of elitism is at work even there. But the most telling comment of the experts is that the 6334 system is admirable in